Welcome to a walk through Philippians. By way of introduction, we're going to be looking at three topics. The person, that is the author of the letter to the church in Philippi. The paper, the texture, what is made up of the letter, and the place. But for this video, we are going to start by considering why. Why would we do such a thing? Firstly, why call it a walk through Philippians? Well, it could be a trot through Philippians. It could be a aerial view flyover of Philippians. But what I would like to do is to not slowly, but carefully walk through Philippians. I don't want to run past what God might be wanting to say through this book. I want to stop and savor some of the sweet and wonderful things that we will find in the book. And I want us to really carefully work through this book of Philippians. And as such, we're going to call it a walk through Philippians. The reason for why we do things in God's economy is very often as important as the things we do themselves. And I'll point it out to you with a few examples. One is the issue of prayer. We think surely at any time and any way, praying is a good thing. It doesn't matter what the motive is, as long as you're praying. But let's see what James says about this. James says that in James chapter 4, verse 1-3, what is the source of wars and fights among you? Don't they come from your passions that wage war within you? Could our passions not be described as the desires, the intentions of our heart, the intentions with what we do? You desire and you do not have. You murder and covet and cannot obtain. You fight and wage war. You do not have because you do not ask. You ask and you don't receive because you ask with wrong motives, so that you may spend it on your pleasures. There most definitely is a call for us to look at our motives. Why would we study the book of Philippians? Why would we spend time investing in watching these videos and reading along in the Bible? Why would us invest time in making these? The why is really important. Let's think about another topic. How about the topic of fasting? Surely fasting is, doesn't matter why we do it, but as long as we do it. Isaiah chapter 58 speaks about this. Isaiah chapter 58, verse 3-4 says, why have we fasted? This is speaking to God, but you have not seen. We have denied ourselves, but you haven't noticed. And then God replies, look, you do as you please on the day of your fast and oppress all your workers. You fast with contention and strife, to strike viciously with your fist. You cannot fast as you do today, hoping to make your voice heard on high. You cannot fast as you do today because you do it with the wrong motives. Our motives are massively important in why we do what we do. So why are we going to be looking at this book of Philippians? I want to say that Bible study done with the wrong motives can be harmful. If you think that you're going to earn some kind of favor with God or with man through following this the series that we're going to be doing, looking at the book of Philippians, then I want to say that perhaps you've missed the mark. Hebrews 6:1 talks about some of the foundations of our faith, and one of those is repentance from dead works. What are dead works? Proverbs 14 verse 12 says that the ways of man seem right to him, but they lead to death. Our ways and our ways of doing things lead to death, and in our old selves, in our sinful nature, we try to earn right standing with God. We try to make ourselves right with God by all our efforts, but as we know, even our best efforts are not enough to come into right standing with God. So we don't try to earn favor with God by what we do. Our motives can't be to try and establish ourselves as being holy before God, and definitely not before man. We end up in prideful arrogance if we work with that kind of motive in our hearts. We might have the motive in our hearts of wanting to be clever Christians. We might want to study the Bible to show how much knowledge we can have. 1 Corinthians 8 verse 1 says that knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. So if we seek knowledge just for the sake of knowledge or for some sort of prideful motive, we are puffed up. Puffed up means to be proud, to be built up with pride, to hold our shoulders back in a prideful sort of way, basing our worth, our standing with others on the knowledge that we've gained, the cleverness that we have, showing that we are right before others, being able to debate and use our words to better and get ahead of others. So if we seek knowledge for knowledge's sake, that knowledge will puff us up, and we know that being puffed up and being prideful, pride comes before the fall, and it's a very risky place to be. So we cannot pursue Bible study with the intention of just gaining knowledge, but we pursue Bible study because of love. Love builds up. We must come to the Bible humbly, wanting to see God and longing after him. See how the writer in Psalms chapter 42 says this remarkable psalm. He says, as a deer longs for flowing streams, so I long for you. I thirst for God, the living God. Where can I come and appear before God? I thirst for the living God, and that is why we must come to this Bible study. We must come as lovers of God, longing after him, wanting to know him and to see him. And what better place to come than the letter to the church of Philippi? This book that we're going to be studying is rich and deep with wonderful theological insights, pointing us to God, showing us his nature, showing us his character, showing us how he interacts with people. And it's a letter written to real people, and it's filled with practical insights that we can live and use and apply to our lives. And so this is a really beautiful place to come for the thirsty saints longing to meet with God and wanting to glorify him with their lives. So if that's your motive, I'd encourage you to join me on this adventure as we walk through the book of Philippians.